Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shatandra Lister. I am a senior transfer advisor in our admissions office. I'm also joined by a member of our nursing department. Eli, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Eli Remillard. I am the RN to BS program facilitator and advisor for SUNY Plattsburgh's nursing department. So I work with students through the enrollment process and also help you set up your academic plan, helping you through advising and registration and helping guide you through the program.
All right, so between myself and Eli, I think that we're well suited to be able to answer questions that you may have. And pretty much we're going to go through the process of kind of talking about the program as a whole, talking then specifically about the kind of credit evaluation process, the admissions process, through registration advisement, and then even talking a little bit about some of the key points in the program. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. All right, so just to kind of give you some fast facts about Plattsburgh, because I think it's important. I think one of the things that really attracts students to our program is the fact that the program is convenient in terms of the fact that it is an online completion program, but it is part of a larger brick and mortar institution. So Plattsburgh is a well-known school throughout the SUNY system. So we are a state school. We were founded in 1889. We have about a little over 5,000 undergraduate and graduate students. It's a very diverse campus in that we have about 32 states represented, 66 countries, and then we are accredited by the Middle States Association. So just kind of giving you an idea of what the school is that you're going to be comparing. In terms of the RN to BS program, for this program, it is designed for students who have or will be completing an associate's degree in nursing. So with that, in order for students to continue on in the program to be accepted, I'm going to move forth with that. Students do have to show us that they will be completing their associate's degree in nursing. So I think it's important with that to kind of note that that doesn't mean that a student has to have their nursing degree completed at the point of application. I get a lot of students that are concerned and think that they want to wait to actually put in that application, especially if you're in your last year of nursing school, if you're in your last semester. Don't let that be the fact that you don't have your associate's degree yet prevent you from putting in the application. We will put a condition on your acceptance that just states that you have to provide that information to us at a later point in time. With this program, students who are eligible for the program, again, have to have licensure as a registered nurse. And then those are the students that are then going on to seek the bachelor's degree. So Eli, can you kind of talk a little bit about when you are meeting with students, do you get a lot of students that are coming to you that are concerned about that, and kind of what is your stance on when students should be submitting the application?
Yeah, definitely. So you touched on it, Shatandra. A lot of students are looking at the program when they're completing their RN program and their associate's degree and are in the last semester of that. And I encourage students to put in their application. That way it just provides for more time to get everything set up and all of the processing, and time for me to work with the student to really talk about their plan and how they see themselves progressing through the program. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I don't see that as a barrier for students, and definitely would recommend students to apply, if they're considering the program, to apply earlier rather than later, and not to let their last part of their studies in their RN program be a barrier to that.
Okay. All right, so in terms of talking specifically about our RN to BS students, so kind of looking at the program at a glance, within the last year, we've had about 168 matriculated transfer students who are currently participating in the online RN to BS nursing program. For the fall of 2019, we brought in 45 new transfer students. And so, you know, I talk about the types of the students that you're working with. I know that we get a lot of students that are sometimes concerned that they're going to be the only one that kind of is in their circumstance in terms of where they're coming to the program. Can you kind of give an idea of what are the different types of nursing students that you work with on a kind of daily basis?
Definitely. So the program is very diverse in the sense that the students participating in the program come from all different backgrounds professionally and educationally. So a lot of students come directly from their associate's degree from a community college or a two-year school. A lot of students have been working in the field for years and are, slightly older than the traditional age college student. Some students are career changers. This nursing is their second or third career, and they've had, previous careers and jobs in different fields. A lot of students in the program have families and have a lot of other life responsibilities. And I think one thing you mentioned that's really, really strong aspect of the program is that there is a large degree of flexibility. And with an entirely online program, we're really able to fit how your studies and this bachelor's degree in nursing really works with the rest of your life responsibilities, families, jobs. The vast majority of students in the program are working, most of them full-time. So just that element of flexibility is a real strong aspect of the program. And we see it really helping students because they come from such different backgrounds. No really two students are the same in terms of their path coming into the program.
Absolutely. Yes. And I can definitely, as the person that gets their transcript reviewing them, it 100% is just each student is a little bit different. When we're looking at applications for admissions, we have students that are brand new to the nursing field, students that have been in the nursing field for 10, 15 years and are now looking to complete the degree to kind of complete their credentialing. So don't think that you're going to be an anomaly. And because of that, we definitely have a lot of support that's there for students. And that both starts at the point when a student is initially transferring into the school, but also we have students once they're in the program. I also work with our readmission students. And we have lots of students that for whatever reason, if they get a new job and they want to focus on their career for a semester, if they get married, if they have a child, will step and start out. So the program really is designed to still continue to kind of pick up where you left off. And we're there to kind of assist you through that process to try to make it easy and as seamless as possible as you're kind of completing and continuing through.
And to add on one thing to Shatandra that she just mentioned is that we do see students who will take a semester off. There's something that comes up, they're getting married, they, any number of things, and they'll just kind of stop for a semester and come back. When you come into the program after you've been accepted, I reach out to you and work with you on setting up your academic plan, which is basically saying, okay, here's your plan for the program. This semester, you're going to take these courses. The next semester, you're going to take these courses. We set those, I work with all students to develop those plans. More often than not, they change. And I expect that. So that degree of flexibility, I think is really, really beneficial because you're busy, you have tons of other things going on in your life, and we want this program and this educational experience to really work with those as opposed to, working in conflict with those. So the flexibility we see working out a lot for students.
I think that's very helpful. So it definitely, I think, kind of completes with both students, those students that are super needing that very structured plan of what it will look like, but then also knowing that there is that flexibility of change in the program, I think is incredibly important. So when we are looking at what ultimately we're looking for when making a decision on a student, we are typically looking for a minimum of a 2.5 on a 4.0 scale. So for that, that's going to be a cumulative GPA. So we require all transcripts from all previous colleges attended post high school. So for a student that may have an associate's degree in another area or may have a bachelor's degree that they completed prior to their associate's degree, send us everything because we'll do a cumulative GPA calculation on all of the colleges that you've attended previously. Not mentioned on here, but also when a student is submitting an application for admission, we need the actual application. Students can apply with a common application or the SUNY application, especially for students that are going to be graduating with their associates. If you're kind of currently completing your associates, while submitting that application. If you apply with the SUNY application, it will waive your application fee for up to 7 SUNY schools if you are going to be graduating from a SUNY 2-year college. So kind of a point to note. Both of those applications, we don't have a preference. There's a $50 application fee that's associated with either of those. We also may ask some students for gap information. So if we see large chunks of time in which you weren't in school based on the transcripts that you've provided to us, we may reach out to you and just ask what you were doing. Doesn't have to be super specific. We're not necessarily looking for the details of what activities you were completing. It's mostly just to make sure we have all your transcripts. So we will get students that when we send that gap information, will remember that they were taking a class or two somewhere else. Send us all of that so that we can do that workup. And that also feeds right into our credit evaluation process. So once we get all your application materials, typically we can make an admissions decision within about 2 to 5 business days. So we work pretty close, or we work quite quickly with that application process. You will be notified of your acceptance, once you submit your application for admission. We will send you information about creating a student portal that will allow for you to see your application status. So if we request additional transcripts, if we ask it for additional information, it would be posted there first. And then that would also be, if we're able to offer you an acceptance, that would be where the acceptance posts first, typically within about 24 hours of the admissions decision. And then we'll follow up with an acceptance letter with an application packet of next steps in the admissions process. So you would be expecting that in the mail, usually within about a week to 10 days of your acceptance. So once we submit your application, or once you submit your application, once you get your admissions decision, the next thing that comes, and for most transfer students, it's the most important thing, is for that transferring of credit. Making sure that you're capitalizing, you're maximizing on the credits that you've taken previously. It's incredibly important to the students that I work with on a daily basis. So in terms of what we will take up to 67 credits from any regionally accredited 2-year institution, up to 84 credits from a 4-year regionally accredited institution. Also keep in mind, for some students, they'll completely forget about the fact that they may have taken English or biology when they were in high school. So we do have students that will additionally send us those transcripts at a later point in time. So we will accept any advanced credit coursework, IB, CLEP, that kind of stuff. So we definitely get students that will look and see that they don't have English 101 met, and then they remember that they took it when they were in high school. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. We don't need those classes for the actual admissions decision, but we'll need them in order to award you credit for those courses at a later point in time. We also have some students that were part of or are currently part of the military. So sending us your joint military transcript, your community college of the Air Force credit, all of that stuff can potentially come and satisfy credit for you. What I definitely recommend for many students, especially if they are coming back for a second degree and going into the nursing program is going to put them at part-time, and they're looking to kind of maximize and figure out credits that they should be taking. I always encourage students, if you're able to complete the SUNY general education requirements, do so, because that would allow for students to be waived from our general education series, with the exception of our global issues class, and there's also a library skills class that's required for nursing students. But then that allows for students to kind of maximize those credits and not have to be taking those additional credits. So pretty much it would allow for students to just be taking their cognate classes and the nursing classes towards their major. Eli, is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of transferring credit, that kind of stuff?
Sure. Do you think this would be a good time to mention the nursing validation credits coming over from the?
Yeah, no, that's a perfect.
So just to add to what Chatandra was saying, so after you complete the first nursing course or foundational nursing course in the program. After successfully completing that and uploading your nursing license to our document management system and signing our nursing department handbook, then you're awarded 34 what we call validation credits of nursing coursework from your associate's degree. And that is in addition to those credits you see there. So if you're coming in from a 2-year institution, you know, there's a potential of having over 100 credits already transferred in. The degree in total, the bachelor's degree, is 120 credits, although I should mention there is a 36 credit residency requirement. And basically what that means is you need to complete 36 credits here at SUNY Plattsburgh in order to be awarded a degree from SUNY Plattsburgh. So a lot of times when I'm making plans with students, students are completing between 36 to maybe 45 or 48 credits for their bachelor's degree. So just to kind of give you an idea, if you're maybe coming from a 2-year school, but there is that residency requirement I'd like to mention. So
yeah. And just so that students know, like as they're getting that residency, that's going to be done after enrollment. So when students look at it, oftentimes they'll be like, oh, none of my nursing credits have come in. So in the admissions office, we'll transfer in any of your non-nursing credits, so courses towards your cognates, courses towards your general education, your elective credits, and then the nursing department from there will work with our registrar's office to award that additional credit. So don't panic. If you're reviewing your credit evaluation and you see that none of your nursing credits are coming in, they will come in. But they just don't come in at the point in which we're reviewing your credit evaluation for an admission or for that initial review. With our credit evaluation system, we use SUNY DegreeWorks. So many other SUNY schools, probably other 4-year colleges or schools in other states also use that system. So it makes it very easy to see exactly how your credits are coming in, what you have left to complete, at the point in which so when you're accepted, within about 2 weeks of an acceptance, you will then get your credit evaluation sent to you. You're also going to get a follow-up email from our admissions office that just has you verify, take a look at it, and then if you do have questions, you can actually set up an appointment with one of our admissions advisors to go over that credit evaluation. So that's where a lot of times I'll get those students that say, hey, it looks like I don't have English 101, but I know I took that class. So that's where we kind of make sure that all of the credits that you've taken previously are represented in the credit evaluation. At the point in which, if you decide Plattsburgh's where you want to go and you submit your tuition deposit, that would then be shared with the department. So Eli would then get that DegreeWorks so we can see exactly how your credits are coming in, and that allows for him to help you to create your schedule. All right, and that ties nicely into talking about course advisement and online orientation. So Eli, can you talk, once you get a student's credit evaluation, kind of what are the next steps that a student can kind of expect in terms of advisement, getting acclimated to the system, that kind of stuff?
definitely. So after you've been accepted and have your credit evaluation, my first step is to reach out to you and set up what I call kind of our initial phone call. I really like to take this opportunity to kind of get to know more about you, kind of learn about your background, your goals, learning about all the responsibilities that you have in your life. Are you working? Are you planning on pursuing employment while you're doing the program? And really just to gather all that information that helps me come up with the best fit plan for you for your course schedule going forward. And then also at that time, I share with you, kind of walk you through what Chatandra mentioned, DegreeWorks. So that's kind of your planning tool that helps you kind of see your coursework and as you fulfill requirements throughout the program. I'll walk you through our online learning management system, which all your courses are going to be delivered through. At SUNY Plattsburgh, we use Moodle. And I also kind of share with you some information about later in the program with your clinical experiences. There's a lot of documentation we just need to get in order. So I share with you setting up your account for our document management system. So basically, I walk you through all the things that you will need to know and be aware of to successfully and seamlessly kind of navigate through the program. And at the end of that conversation, I will go back and put together a draft of a study plan for you, send it to you, and you can review it, and then we go from there. And if we need to make any changes, or if you have any questions, we'll address those. And like I said before, this study plan, I want to make sure I'm stressing it's flexible. You know, things change, and we make changes as things develop. So it's certainly not set in stone. It's just an initial baseline to give you a view of how things will go from here. But that initial conversation is really getting you oriented to the program, making you aware of everything that you'll need to kind of know about to be successful. And then after that phone call, if you're like me, sometimes you don't remember things. So I always send an email after, kind of highlighting and recapping the main points we talked about with links to any of the more specific information. So you have that on hand, and you know if you can refer back to it if you need to at a later time.
Just trying to think, for course advisement, I get a lot of students that are kind of in that back and forth trying to figure out full-time versus part-time. Do you have a lot of students that are kind of figuring that out, and what is your best advisement for students that are kind of coming into the program grappling with kind of what they're kind of looking to do in terms of completion?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a lot of times, you know, students will really be thinking, I really want to go full time. I want to take, you know, 12 to 15 credits a term. That's totally doable. Our program is, you know, structured such that that's a possibility, and some students do that. I generally recommend that if you're working full time, or if you're planning on pursuing full-time employment while doing the program, I don't advise necessarily taking a full 12 to 15 credit course schedule. It's just with that and work, there's really just not enough hours in the day. One thing I like to bring up with students who might not have taken an online course before, or might not be as familiar with online learning, is that sometimes I hear that, oh, online courses, you know, I don't need to go to class, so it takes less time. That is actually not the case. Online courses, a 3-credit online course, will take just as much time as an in-person course. So that's something I like to bring up to students who might not be familiar with online learning. So taking a full course load, 12 to 15 credits while working, I generally don't recommend that for students, just because it really is kind of not a sustainable approach, right? It's just too much in too short amount of time. So a lot of students who are working or pursuing employment, they're taking usually 2 courses a term, so maybe 6 credits. And we find that fits quite well with the working schedule. And it allows, generally, if students are taking 2 courses a term, if students are open to taking a course maybe in our summer or winter terms, then we're generally looking at students completing the program in about 3 years at that part-time basis, which seems to work well for students. So, but that's not to say we have some students who, you know, they've done a full semester load of coursework and work full-time and have done so successfully, but just after that they think, hey, maybe that's not the best plan of attack for next semester. So like I said, we make adjustments as we go, but the general recommendation is that if you're going to be working full-time or thinking about working full-time, to probably just do 2 courses a term at the most.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's always what I advise when students are first starting. It's like, it's easier to pick up than it is to kind of start and really just get overwhelmed and not have that be a successful kind of integration into the program. So I always kind of like to get that perspective of the department kind of when talking about kind of course selection and the number of credits, because I think that is super important to kind of keep in mind for students, like as they're coming in, especially if these are the first couple of online classes that you've taken. They're nice in terms of the convenience and when you can put in your coursework, but definitely making sure you're allotting enough time to actual course completion is super important to be successful. Alrighty, so once you have your course schedule, once you are kind of acclimated, you're starting to take classes, one of the other big questions that we get a lot from students is talking about that experiential learning component. So our students do have clinical hours that they are required to complete. There is a clinical coordinator that works with students to help find those appropriate experiences in their region. Can you kind of talk more broadly about kind of what that is, what students can expect with the completion of the experiential learning component?
definitely. So the last two nursing courses in the program are what we call these experiential learning courses, or ALEs, which are applied learning experiences. And those courses, so one of them is focused on public health, and the other course is focused on management and leadership. And for both of those courses, students will be spending time at a on-site clinical location, working with folks there. And so that is the only, I guess I'd say, non-online component of the program. But to your point, or as Chatandra mentions, we have someone in the nursing department, our clinical coordinator, who works with all the clinical placements for students. So she coordinates all of your placements and your schedule, and setting up those relationships with those employers. So really, it's a pretty involved task of setting all that up. So really, if you're planning on taking, a clinical course in the fall, we're going to be reaching out early summer or even before then to get all that set up, making sure that it's going to work best with your schedule. So the thing I'll say about the applied learning experiences is that I think they're a really beneficial aspect to the program, and they're very useful for students because particularly the management leadership clinical experience, because a lot of students who are working in the program, more often than not, we're able to actually place them within another floor or another unit at their current employer. So not only are you getting credit and you're, completing your degree, but you're also having a pretty unique opportunity to network and develop your career with your current employer. You might be able to be working on a team or group that's, focusing on a bigger picture, leadership issue at your organization. And that, I think, is really, really awesome and really beneficial, because it's kind of, allowing you to advance your career and also obtain your degree at the same time. So that's something I like to point out with students. But they are the last two courses in the program. All of your 300 level nursing courses, those all need to be completed before these last two clinical experiences. And generally what we find with students, because there is that on-site clinical component, students are usually just completing just the clinical course in the term, and usually aren't completing other coursework. And that's mostly because they are the last courses in the program. All your other nursing courses are going to be complete. But that just allows for a little bit more flexibility there.
And I get a lot of students that when they're thinking about those experiential learning, those clinical coordinating position, or that piece, they definitely think that it's still similar to kind of that bedside nursing experience that they got in their clinicals when they were in their associate's degree. And I always encourage students to kind of think differently about that, because it is really designed as a different type of experience that students are completing. So it really does have that management, that leadership kind of component built into it. So I think that they're, from what I've heard from students in the past, that they're excited about the uniqueness of that experiential learning opportunity, because it does give them a different experience from what they may have experienced in their associate's degree completion.
Definitely, yeah. And just to talk a little bit more about public health clinical, so that some students think that, oh, is that kind of like, home care, public nursing? And it's not necessarily that. It's more so you might be working with the county health office on a public health initiative or project for the county, something like that, that really is intended to give you that additional, like you said, Chatandra, that additional experience outside of just the traditional care coordination, but kind of giving you those experiences in kind of the bigger picture healthcare systems, and providing you with in-depth experience in those kind of different areas, which I think was really, really beneficial to, your future career development. And I think it really allows you kind of a foot in the door to some of those different areas that you might want to explore. So I definitely think it's a highlight of the program for sure.
So, like, as we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, kind of the nursing department is really there to help to support you throughout the entirety of the program that you're experiencing. Eli, can you kind of talk about what are, some of the support systems that are built into the program, either in the courses and the advisement that students are getting, that's going to help to make sure that they're successful long-term in the program and even potentially beyond that?
Definitely. So I'll start with myself. So my real main goal in my position as advisor and facilitator for the RN to BS program is to make things as simple and as straightforward for you as possible. You're busy, you have a life, and you have commitments, and I fully understand that. And my goal is really to minimize all the time and energy and effort you'll spend doing things that are not directly related to completing your coursework successfully. So, I reach out to you if you need to upload a document, and I help you do that. I reach out to you or you reach out to me if you have questions or you have trouble with, understanding registration or not being able to find a resource online. Those are all things that I can help you with, so you don't have to really devote time, energy, and frustration and effort into those things. I want you spending that time on focusing on your coursework and making sure that you're doing the best you can there and all your other life responsibilities. So that's kind of my vantage point there. The SUNY Plattsburgh RN to BS program was one of the first online nursing programs in the state. So because of that, our faculty are very, very accustomed to working in the online format and are very responsive to students' needs. So if you have a question, if you have an issue, reaching out to those faculty, they will be more than happy to help you with those for your coursework. In addition to other support, so as a SUNY Plattsburgh student, you have access to all the resources that a SUNY Plattsburgh student who's studying here on campus would have. So, for example, you have access to our career development office, which has tons of resources about job searching, about networking, and even after you graduate as an alumni, you still have access to that career development center. We also have online tutoring that is part of a statewide kind of partnership across the SUNY system that you have access to as an online student. One required course in the program is statistics, and more often than not, we find that students like to have some additional support in that class, and that is available through our online tutoring system. So those are two things that we find that are really helpful to students. Another support aspect is actually kind of new at the university is we are part of a kind of online partnership with an organization called Better Minds, which provides an online counseling service for students. So as a distance or an online learner at SUNY Plattsburgh, if you need some additional support for any issues you may be experiencing, you'll be able to connect with a counselor online from the comfort of wherever you are. So those are just some of the few of the online or resources that are available to you that might be useful as an online student. But like I said, really all the resources here at SUNY Plattsburgh, and Chatandra said this at the beginning of the presentation, is that even though you're not here necessarily at SUNY Plattsburgh, you are a SUNY Plattsburgh student, and we are here to help, and you have access to all the resources we have here for students who are studying on campus.
Okay. And I also think in terms of like that support, that preparation, I think that a lot of the offices, especially like the nursing department, admissions, we have, I think, really good communication with one another as well. So as opposed to a student feeling like they're running back and forth, explaining kind of if they have questions about their credits, or if they're thinking that they may stop out for a semester and they're looking to return, Eli and I are kind of constantly communicating. I speak with the department chair quite a bit to make sure that kind of we're kind of helping to assist to make sure that you're not constantly having to figure out things on your own. So that is something that here at Plattsburgh we do very well in making sure that we're able to assist you through the process to make sure that you're not kind of constantly having to kind of double back, ask questions to multiple offices. I think the goal is to, get the questions answered for you and then kind of help you bring those answers back to you.
Definitely.
So at this point in time, we're going to kind of talk about dates and deadlines. I definitely want to stress that with the dates and deadlines that you're going to see in terms of the application process, we operate on rolling admission. So by no means are these dates kind of hard. Um, Set dates. We pretty much accept students all the way up into the beginning of the semester. So I encourage you to look at these, especially if you're thinking for a future semester that you're interested in applying to Plattsburgh. But if you are interested in the fall semester, that March deadline is coming up. Don't let the fact if you're not able to get that application in by March 1 to think that you now no longer have an option in terms of submission. These are very soft deadlines. Really just to make sure that we're giving you enough time to get all of the documentation that you're going to need completed to enroll, to potentially submit for financial aid, get your credit evaluation, get registered for classes so that you feel comfortable. So we can definitely do the very quick in August at the end of the like right at the beginning of the semester, but becomes a little bit more stressful for you. So if you're able to kind of adhere by some of these deadlines, it definitely helps. So if we're looking at spring, we typically encourage students to submit their application by November 1, and then submit their deposit by around December 1. For summer entry, we within the last year have added that as an option for students. We encourage the application by May 1 for deposit deadline of July 1 because there are several start terms during that summer term. We also, for fall, have an application date. We would like to see things by March 1 for a deposit deadline of May 1. So just kind of keeping an idea on those time frames. Again, once we get your application, students would be able to get their admissions decision within about 2 to 5 business days. As I'm looking at these dates and kind of thinking for future terms, Eli, do you get students that come to you that may already have a bachelor's degree, so they have a lot of their cognate or their general education classes completed when they're still in their associate's degree program, and are asking what are some things that I can do to kind of maximize the time that I'm there so that it's as efficient as possible once I enroll at Plattsburgh?
Yeah, sometimes that comes up with students who are, completing, let's say they're completing their RN program and they want to get ahead as fast as they can on their bachelor's degree here at SUNY. There's a couple different things we can do. So sometimes recommend students to, if they're really looking forward to kind of get a leg up in their program, or they know there's a couple of requirements that they want to complete, is to take a course as a non-matriculated student in the summer, or even if in that last term of your associate's degree, taking a course here as a non-matriculated student, because it's all online, so you're able to do that and also complete your associate's degree as well. So for students who are really looking forward to, getting going and completing their requirements as soon as possible, that's definitely a possibility, and students have been successful in doing that in the past.
All right. Well, Eli, are there any other items that you want to talk about before we end today? Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to?
No, I don't think so. I think we've kind of hit on it all. And just to recap the big ideas for me is that I think the big draw to this program is the flexibility and the adaptability, and the level of support. We touched on it on the end there, but my main role here at the college is really to support online nursing students and just ensure that they're successful in the program. So